It's now my delight to introduce our JD speaker, Josie Helen Duffy. Josie received her bachelor's degree in political science from Columbia University and worked at Bronx Defenders prior to starting here at the law school. At Harvard, she has served as executive editor of the Journal of Racial and Ethnic Justice and has engaged in clinical opportunities including Prison Legal Assistance Project, Harvard Defenders, and the Mississippi Delta Project. She's wonderfully served on the boards of the Black Law Students Association, the Black Graduate Students Association, the American Constitution Society, and the Harvard Law School Democrats. A student speaker at the World Economic Forum's 2010 Mass Incarceration Symposium, Josie will begin working at the Center for Popular Democracy in New York after graduation. Josie.
Thank you so much, Dean Minow, and good morning. My name is Josie Duffy. I think I speak for all of the graduates when I say that today feels weird. It sounds cliche, but it does seem like just last week that we were sitting in Memorial Hall listening to Dean Minow speak during orientation. And I remember listening to her read out the amazing accomplishments of our class and feeling completely underprepared and underaccomplished. And I remember this unparalleled moment of comedic timing when I looked down and I noticed that I had my sweater on inside out. I then remember imagining what I was going to tell my parents when the admissions office inevitably cornered me and told me that they had made a mistake. And that was just the first of a number of moments filled with these deep feelings of inadequacy. There was the first day of class, for example, which, as my Section 6 will remember, Professor Rosenberg came in 10 minutes early, kind of bounded to the front of the classroom, and began our entire law school experience with a couple of unceremonious words, which were, "Okay, let's get to work." He picked up his seating chart, and I was terrified, and I thought, okay, if he calls on me, I'll get up and I'll walk out of the door, and I'll go catch the bus back to Georgia, and I'll pretend this law school thing never happened. But he didn't call on me, and it turns out that Professor Rosenberg wasn't nearly as scary as he seemed. By the end of the fall, I found him downright endearing, and I even tried to hug him once, although he politely rebuffed me. And some of those people that Dean Minow talked about that day, those people who had cured diseases and written books and ruled small countries, a lot of them ended up being some of my friends. But that's not actually why I came to talk to you today, because I wanted to talk to the graduates about another moment in Memorial Hall, the one that actually Dean Minow just mentioned, the moment where Dean Minow said, "We searched the world for you." That was a big moment for me, and I remember feeling completely thrilled and also totally overwhelmed with the idea that a place like Harvard Law School had searched the world and found me. But I wasn't actually that hard to find, and none of us were. The fact that we were even in Dean Minow's landscape at all speaks to how blessed and how remarkably lucky we are. I don't mean to say that we haven't worked hard, because we have, all of us. But if law school has taught me one thing, it's that hard work and good luck are not mutually exclusive. So here's the part in the graduation speech where I talk about responsibility. And I have to say it to you all now, while you guys are sort of forced to listen to me before you all go off and get really important jobs and I have to contact your secretary to get on your schedule. The law is noble, but it is not perfect. It is good, but it is not always just. Our laws are made by people just like you and I, not by gods. And so my hope for us as lawyers is that we do listen to the law, of course, but that we also listen to our brain and our gut. I hope we acknowledge when something makes us uneasy, that we speak up when something feels wrong. In law school, they teach you to think like a lawyer, but I hope in the process we don't forget to also think like human beings. I hope that we allow ourselves to hold fast in what we believe in, but that we have the dignity and the humility to change our minds. That we remember that often experience is more valuable than eloquence. That we do not always equate logic with strength. That we do not always equate emotion with weakness. We live in a time where information is so accessible, where things go from novel to tired to cliche in a matter of seconds, and I fear that irony is easier than earnestness for all of us, and that skepticism can be easier than faith. I hope that we retain that inner current of idealism that will sometimes get us called naive or unrealistic. And my hope for us is that when we confront legal problems, we don't just think about the law. The law, after all, is often binary, and I don't want us to be binary. I hope that we recognize that part of beauty is in nuance and complication, that sometimes there may be two answers or no answers, that fairness does not have to exclude efficiency, that good things have bad sides, that good people make bad mistakes, that good rules can have bad results, that it's not as simple as good or bad, good and evil, right or wrong, or right or left. And that is what is amazing about life. It's not simple. The grace is in the gray area. If you ever need to feel unimportant, remember the gabillion people who are living now or have lived throughout history. Superlatives will not sustain you. If you narrow your focus to being the best, the most, or the first, you will never knock that feeling that at some point someone did or could or will do it better than you. And I don't know about you all, but I'm very different than I was 3 years ago. For one, I now own snow boots, but I also went through a period where I swore that law school wasn't for me, and in a moment of what the law calls temporary insanity, I called my father and I told him that I no longer wanted to be a lawyer, I now wanted to be a writer. And I heard a very long silence before he said, "How many semesters of tuition did you pay before you figured that out?" Turns out that I was wrong, because after all, being a lawyer can augment who I am. It doesn't have to define it. So my hope for us is that we choose not to just be lawyers. My hope for us is that we choose to be fighters and peacemakers, preachers and engineers, that we choose to be artists, imagining how things could be, that we choose to be architects who create and workers who build, and that we choose to be writers. And I hope that we think about all of those people that don't have the opportunity that we have. And I mean really think about them. Harvard is a place of privilege, and the truth is the more we eat cake, the harder it is to remember the taste of bread. To put it simply, there is no such thing as an even playing field. We are 500 some odd people of the 7 billion people in the world, and at this very moment, there are people just as smart as us or smarter all over this planet who do not have the same luck that we have. People who do not have the resources, the opportunity, or the freedom. Even others who are fighting wars, working in factories, or tilling land. Others who do not have the right to go to school because of their gender, or their class, or their citizenship. They live far away, but also closer than we probably realize, and they are trying to figure out how to live in this world, much less change it. Graduating from this place means that people are going to give us a terrifying amount of power. I really hope that each of us takes that power as opportunity. Opportunity for us to help a person or a neighborhood or a country. And that means not just helping out once a year, and it means not just donating money. And when we help out, we must also watch out. Help has a way of veering into patronization if you're not careful. The past few years have been about us, our grades, our clerkships, our firm offers, our laments over not enough sushi in the Hark. But at the end of the day, the legal profession is not about us at all. So don't let yourself get tired, don't let yourself get bitter, and don't wake up one day and realize that you let yourself get too hard. Access your reservoirs of compassion. The funny part about me standing up here at all is that I'm 26, so spoiler alert, I know pretty much nothing at all. But I believe plenty of things, and I believe in the fight. I believe in what Dr. King called creative extremism. So today I wanted to ask all of you to fight long and hard for what you believe in. So many people fought for me to get this degree, and I think of them today. I think of my great-grandfather who graduated from college in 1926 and wanted to go to law school, but couldn't find one that would accept a black man. I think of my grandmother who is here. She's 92 now, but as a black woman in Texas in the 1930s, she publicly campaigned against the poll tax. It wasn't safe and it wasn't easy, but it was right. I think about my mother. This is the part I was worried about. Okay. I think about my mother, who balanced hard work and hard mothering with wisdom and humor and most notably patience. And I think about my father, who, when I was a kid in Atlanta, I would sit on his lap and he would talk about South Africa and South Central. He would talk about public education and public housing. And he'd talk about problems and also about solutions. And ever since I was a little girl, he would tell me it was my responsibility to make sure that I made things better. How great is it that we're getting this degree that will let us make things better? I hope I never forget to do that. Thanks, that gave me a second to calm down. I hope I never forget to do that, and I hope that you all don't either. On a personal note, from me to all 500 and odd number of you, I just want to say thank you for everything. I'm proud to know all of you. Thank you for the friendship and the classroom arguments and the laughter and the Facebook arguments. And although I've spent the last 3 years trying not to be Elle Woods, I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to channel her today. And just so you know, under my gown, I'm wearing my sweater on inside out. I told myself I wouldn't quote anyone in this speech. I also told myself I would no longer eat in the vending machines and the tunnels after 1L year, and that didn't work out, so I'm gonna go ahead and quote two men who in their time have spouted some real wisdom. The first is young Josie, who is either a rapper or a Supreme Court justice, I'm not sure which. But he said, "You only get one life. There is no sequel." And the second quote is from that first day of class, when Professor Rosenberg walked to the bottom of the classroom, looked at us and said, "Okay, let's get to work." So let's get to work. Thank you.